So, how was last weekend for you? I found it a little unsettling, celebrating the feast of Corpus Christi, but the body of Christ of St Kevin's wasn't able to gather. We're recording this on Thursday, and as of Thursday, we hope that the restrictions will be eased for the weekend, the last weekend of June. And you'll see information for that in our parish newsletter. Moving on to this weekend's readings, and Jesus is quite clear, saying, "Be not afraid." That's the most repeated phrase in the whole of the Bible, isn't it? Is it 167 times that I read that phrase, "Be not afraid," "Don't be afraid"? Those sorts of phrases are used in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. I wonder why so often is it repeated. Perhaps because we can't help but be afraid at times. Remember Jesus in the agony in the garden. And mind you, fear is not necessarily a bad thing. We don't jump off bridges or high buildings, do we, because of the fear thing. Fear is, in fact, of course, pretty natural, isn't it, folks? Remember the panic buying at the start of COVID-19. But fear can be paralysing, and that's the problem. Our centuries-old xenophobia brings us to ignore our humanity towards asylum seekers. And I wonder if it's fear that holds us up looking at climate change, or maybe it's just complacency. But it's the consequences, isn't it, of fear, not so much fear itself, that are problems for us. Today's Gospel has Jesus calling on us to try and face our fears and manage our fears. Hawthorne star Lee Matthews is reported in his biography as saying that every time he went to run out onto the football field, he was nervous about injuries and afraid, and he had to overcome that fear. Our first reading, thank you, Joe Legal, our first reading from Jeremiah also speaks of his fears and anger and worry about all the opposition that he faced throughout his life. Mainly, we're told, from, would you believe, the temple police. The first reading does smack of his struggles to remain faithful to his mission. Talking of that mission, the background to today's Gospel is Jesus commissioning the 12 to go out and do the job. We, as the baptized, are called on to continue that mission of the originals. Jesus says, don't be afraid, because he knows that from time to time there'll be lots of opposition. There will be opposition. People will, etc., etc., won't they? You've already experienced that yourselves, I'm sure. For Christians in some countries, it's a matter of life and death, and more are Christians being murdered just simply for their faith. Now, that's not the case here in Australia, thank God. Rather, the problem for us is the fear of others' indifference and complacency. Oh, she'll be right. Complacency and indifference, and one of the two words that Pope Francis speaks strongly about often, isn't it? I want us to think further about the problem for us First World Catholics, that so many of our fellow Catholics are indifferent, are complacent. And so in order for us to remain faithful to the job at hand, we sometimes have to face down, oh, what will people think? Or, oh, will they be sick of us forever asking? Oh, will they think that we're holy Joes? Father Kevin Lenihan, a couple of weeks ago, was asked, do you think that there'll be a split, a schism in the Catholic Church? Kevin's reply sent a shudder of truth through me. No, he said, I don't think Aussie Catholics have the energy or interest to split. I think they'll just do what they have done over the last 10 or 20 years, simply walk away in more numbers. That's where you and I are required, please, to make sure that the focus of reform, the focus of renewal is continued. We believe that that forum here in Australia is the Plenary Council, and that's why I ask of you again to go and look, please, at senseofthefaithful.org.au, senseofthefaithful.org.au. Many of the issues that were raised originally 18 months ago are in the papers to be discussed by the bishops, etc., at the Plenary Council. But that's another 18 months away. For us to keep focus for the bishops and the church in general, it requires people like you and me to be continually updating ourselves. So please look at this website under the section of Plenary Council, or just as easily go to senseofthefaithful.org.au. Now it looks like that this will be the last of these homilies. Again, may I thank Vianney Shield for his fantastic work, and for Nadia and Rebecca and Jan for their marvellous work also. We've tried to give you experiences of different ways of praying, and we hope that you've taken the opportunity in this COVID lockdown time to experiment and to find different ways of praying. But with a bit of luck, and we expect the luck to be on our side this time, the 27th and 28th of June, the Saturday night and the Sunday morning, we will return to St Kevin's face to face. Won't it be great? So for now, just may I leave you with that message of Jesus, be not afraid. What a terrific mantra for the rest of our week. Thank you.